Hello, Mastermind family. Welcome. Dobaden, Salem, hello, mahaba, hola, ciao, ahoy, and hello, and a very warm welcome to you wherever you are in the world right now, whatever time zone you're on. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us for this special goal setting and goal achieving workshop this evening to help you have the best 2026 ever. Can you believe we are halfway through the decade of 2020 and we are now starting that second half of that decade? And what we hope to share with you this evening will help you really end the second half of this decade brilliantly and really strong. Now, I am going to turn the chat off in a moment, but just before I do, would you just pop a comment in the chat? Let us know whereabouts in the world you are right now and what time it is. I know there are people, it's like 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, 8 in the evening. So it'd be great to hear from you, whereabouts you're from and what time it is. It's just brilliant to have so many of you joining us this evening from all over the world. Not only are you joining us here live on this Zoom, but we have people from different parts of the world, including in theatres and cinemas watching us in places like the Philippines, Iran, Turkey and Bulgaria and various other places as well. So a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. It's great to have so many of you with us this evening. So I'm going to turn it's brilliant to see where everybody's from here. I'm going to turn this chat off now because the last thing I think we want to have throughout the course of the evening or afternoon or morning or whatever time it is for you is distractions of the chat jumping up and down. And actually, that's the first point I wanted to make for us this evening, is to perhaps give yourself, I know for many of you it's been Christmas, so a very happy Christmas if you're celebrating it, or a happy festive period if not. But the best gift I think you can give yourself for this session that's coming up now is the gift of solitude. So as much as you can, I know you might have other emergencies or family things or whatever else, but as much as you possibly can, my suggestion would be that you turn your notifications off. If your team aren't here, then don't be updating them on what they're missing in the Facebook and WhatsApp. You can do that later. Instead, immerse yourself right now to give yourself the best possible chance of having an incredible 2026 and beyond. So that's a little gift that you can give yourself, just total immersion for the next 90 minutes or so. Now, just let me introduce myself first. For those that I haven't met before, my name is Wes Linden. I've been involved in the network marketing and direct selling profession with just one company for nearly 30 years now, which makes me seem really old and odd because I clearly am only 26. But I have been in just one company in that time, and I've been involved with the Mastermind event since about 2012. And it's been a really important part of my growth as a leader, of my progression as for my team, and for my growth as a person as well. So it's been great to be involved, and it's a real honor this evening to kind of host this event. And we have 4 incredible speakers, absolute legends in our profession, 4 of the biggest names, top earners, biggest leaders in the network marketing space, joining you here this evening for this special Mastermind event 2026 best year ever goal setting and goal achieving workshop. So during the course of the evening, we're going to be hearing from Debbie Neal, Tom Big Al Schreiter, Jordan Adler. I might throw a few things in myself, and of course, Art Jonak, the founder of the Mastermind event. So you are in for an incredible session. I do apologize if I keep saying during the course of the evening. I do know for many of you it's a different time of day, but for me it's the evening here in London. So I just I'm just going to probably keep saying that on autopilot. But listen, it's brilliant to have so many of you join us live this evening. This is a live session. Now, I want to just relax you for a moment and say, don't worry, there is no big sell coming here. There's no coaching courses or upsells into that kind of thing that you're going to have to endure at some point. So your credit card is absolutely safe. But more importantly, the way we see it, myself, Art, Tom, Debbie, Jordan, is that we've had incredible blessings from being involved in this profession. And there are many more blessings available to all of you. It's not a very small pie. that we only get a tiny little slice of. That when Art Jonak set up the Mastermind event, his thinking was, why are different companies just hiding themselves away, distributors hiding themselves away, not sharing their success, not sharing their secrets? They're just fighting over a small piece of the pie. Instead, we can all work together to build a bigger profession so that we all have a bigger pie to go for. So your success is fantastic for all of us because it means this profession is succeeding, and then we all win that way. So I'm just delighted that these four incredible leaders have agreed to be on this evening, to give up some of their family time to be with you absolutely, during this Christmas period or festive period, and giving up their time like that. So I'm not going to waffle on this evening. Instead, we're going to hear from our very, very first speaker, who has built an incredible business over in the United States. She first came to the Mastermind event 2 years ago as a keynote speaker, did an amazing job, so much so that she came back this year in 2025, because it's still 2025 when we're recording this. She came back in 2025 and just raised it another level. In fact, she is always leveling up, which of course is the name of her amazing podcast, which I know so many of you follow. So I am very, very pleased to invite to share with us for the first 15 minutes, Debbie Neal. Debbie, good evening. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Wes, thank you so much, everybody. I'm so honored to be here. And I know that Wes gave a little bit about his background. I have been in the network marketing profession this is my 20th year, and I too have been with the same company. And it's an honor to be here with all of you today because we are all part of, in my opinion, the very best profession in the world. So happy almost New Year. And as we talk about the new year, the one thing that I just want to give a side note, we still have time before that ball drops, right? You're all in different countries, but we have time and we're not waiting, because how you end this year is exactly how you're going to come into 2026. So when you think about 2026, this is what I want you to know and decide. This is your year. It's your year. And so we're going to slam the back door shut of any other option, because I'm going to tell you this. If you leave the door open even a crack, we figure out how to get through that door. You're going to decide. And so we've heard the word decision. I have decided. I feel like I've decided, but I mean the kind of decision that you can actually get yourself really excited about, because in your mind, it has already happened. So I want you to get yourself excited. I'll bring you back just a little bit to the beginning of my journey. When I started with my company, I'm assuming I'm still on, but I see something different going on here. Okay, we're still going? Okay, good. When I started with my company, I had never been in network marketing before. I saw what was probable, right? We know legally we refer people to the earnings statements. I saw what was probable. I also saw what was possible. And I made up my mind that I was not only going to build this, but I was going to build it to the very top. And so with that said, no matter what you're looking for out of this profession, it's there for you. But I got myself excited, this childlike belief. And I knew that I was going to do it, because it wasn't a question of if, it was just no matter how long it takes, no matter what I need to do, I am doing that. I am creating that. So I encourage you to go into this year with that childlike belief. So what I want to share with you today in my time that I have with you, I believe it's 7 tips to level up your business in 2026. And it's all about goal setting today. So number 1, set a goal. Without a goal, we wander, we lose our way. It's kind of like throwing spaghetti up against the wall. So I want you to not only set a goal, but I want you to fall in love with that goal. Like you are in love with it, and not a million different goals, like one goal. And so when I started in my business, it was to grow to the top. Now, with that said, there's many of you just like me at the top of your company. It doesn't end there. That's actually where my journey began. But you have to start somewhere. And so I set that goal to grow to the top of my company. So that was the major goal. But with that meant earning bonuses, promoting leaders, excellence, heavily recruiting, setting a yearly goal, setting a monthly goal, setting a weekly goal. Like, I had never been in the network marketing space before. So I had set goals. I was an athlete and I had set goals when I was in my corporate career, but it was very different in this profession. And so how do you build that discipline? Some of you might be saying, like, I set a yearly goal. A year's a lot of time, but it also goes really, really quickly. And so what I did was set 24 to 48 hour goals. And in my mind, I would set a goal, let's say for myself for 24 hours, and then say, when you achieve this, Deb, you're at the top. Now, that wasn't truth, but our imagination doesn't know what's fact, and what we're creating is reality. And so I would work those 24 hours with this crazy urgency and excellence and energy. And then when I achieved it, what was I doing? I was, we're creating feelings. We operate on our feelings. So I was feeling excited. I was feeling proud. I was feeling like I was getting closer. And at the same time, I was building the skill set of setting goals. So when you're doing this, it builds discipline. It builds the skill of goal setting. There are going to be many goals on your way to your goal, but you want to be very clear. Get very crystal clear about what you're creating in 2026, because you know what gray is, that gray area? It's very vague. So what do you want? What do you want your life and your business to look like? What do you want your level of success to look like? How much are you going to earn in 2026? And sometimes we justify where we are. If you guys don't know me, I'm going to call you on your greatness, okay? And I'm going to say, stop justifying where you are. How often do we hear sometimes that money isn't everything? And no, money is not everything without our health, right? But it is the currency to every single thing we want. College costs money. Vacations cost money. Homes cost money. Going out to lunch, which I love to do, costs money. Things on your bucket list cost money. Giving to other people costs money. When we justify where we are, you know what we do? We give ourselves permission to stay put, right? You ever hear somebody say, I make enough? Do you? Do you? And better yet, let me ask you this. How many others have you helped make enough? And right, that's what I love about this profession. None of us have made enough, because there's more people that we can help and more people that we can serve. Those who say that aren't focused on taking other people with them, and that's the gift of network marketing. They're looking for a reason to play small. So what do you want? Think about your health goals, your financial goals. Get crystal clear, journal on it, and feel the gratitude that you've already created those goals. See your new reality. Speak of your new reality. Focus on your new reality. Show up like your new reality. If you set a goal to grow to the top of your company, but then at the same time we walk around feeling defeated, that's our level of belief. And so we want to show up as if, and embody that energy and embody the level of leadership, and keep your goal somewhere where you can see it all the time. And every day you want to be clicking away at that goal. Okay. Number 2, create a vision. Not only create a vision, but cast a vision. Do you guys know what casting a vision is? Having a vision, you create it in your imagination, but casting that vision is telling people, enrolling people, having a vision that's so big and so bold and so full of color that other people are like, oh my gosh, his vision is big enough. I see myself in it. Her vision is big enough. I see myself in it. And you want to work on that vision every single day. It's not like you're going to wake up one day and poof, have a vision, and then poof, it's going to come to reality. It's every single day. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to see it, because you must see it in your mind first. The actions that we take every day are a reflection of our belief. So when we believe in our vision, we take bold action. We take courageous action. We pick up the phone and we call that person that we know would be amazing at this business, because we believe in where we're going and our vision is crystal clear. If we see and believe our vision, we take the bold actions required. Number 3, friends, we all have this, okay? So you might be like, I don't have anything like that. Release whatever it is that's holding you back. Come into this new year fresh. whether it's forgiveness, new year, new you. Sometimes we come in with these fists clenched. I want you to open up your fist. I want you to allow abundance to flow. We need to let go in order to grow. We may think that the things that are on our mind aren't holding us back, but they are. They are. Maybe it's a goal you went for and you didn't achieve it. Or maybe, what's one thing that really keeps us out of the game? Shame. Shame keeps us out of the game. Shame keeps us from living it to our fullest potential. And sometimes we could feel shame if we lose a management title, or if team quits on us, or if we don't live in our word. We need to enter this new year and leave all of that behind us, because all of those things are taking up space. They're attracting the energy. They are thought about when we think about fear, and we think about guilt, and we think about confusion. Like, release all of it and get really clear, because there's stories in our head that aren't serving us. So when you have those stories, that's why you want to get clear, because until you work through what is holding us back, we keep inviting that same story into January and burying it, and it will keep you where you are. Abundance does not grow in confusion. Love doesn't grow in a gray area. And love, like when you love what you're doing and love what you're building and love your goals and you love the company you represent, that's just a kind of energy that attracts abundance into your life and business. The things that are meant to be in your life cannot flow into it if you're holding on to things that don't serve you. So open your fists, release, and allow your heart to be open and clear your mind. You've got to know that on the other side of confusion is clarity. And this is important because sometimes we just set a goal and we're like, what are the tactics to set a goal? But we need to release this stuff so we can bring this goal to life. It's that faith that will give you the courage to make the changes in your life and in your business. Number 4, be present. Like, be where you are. We are living in Wes said, like, turn off your phones. I put mine on do not disturb. I don't know if you guys are anything like me. My phone will ding. I'll be tempted to look down. Now, if you see me look down, I just want to be mindful of time. So I'm looking at my time, but be fully present. We have one life. And you know what most of us do a lot of that life? We think we're overthinking. We're scrolling. Be where you are. Put your phone down. And I know many of you, like me, we do a lot of work from our phone. But let's be honest, right? Most of the things we do on our phone are not work. So be really intentional. 95% of the time, we're probably not working. We're wasting time. And a year flies by. I'm going to share with you guys like kind of a little bit of a morbid thought, but it's pretty powerful. And I don't know if you guys know Bob Goff. I read all of his books. I think he's amazing. Okay. And so I heard Bob Goff talk about this in one of his books. How many years do you have left in your ideal world? Right? Left. Like, we don't want to think about that, but there's 2 dates that are pretty much guaranteed if you're living, the one you live and then the one you're no longer living. Okay. We don't want to think about it, but that's reality. So for me, I'm 54 years old. Okay. So I plan on living over 100 years. But let's be honest, like past 85, am I going to be kicking it up on these calls with you guys? I don't really know. Okay. The idea is that I'd like to be in cruise control by then and plan on living on my efforts that I've put in for all these years. That's the beauty of this business. Although you guys will probably see me at 86 years old, kicking it up with you guys. Okay. But let's just go with the fact that I'm 54 and at 85, I'm going to be a participant. I'm be in the audience. Okay. So that for me, that's 31 years of focused time. So I want you to guys like set a timer in your life for not just business, but memories, being present, having conversations. And so for me, that would be 16,304,425 minutes. So imagine setting a timer for that and hitting that timer. And now you're watching the time go down. I'm thinking that maybe we would treat every single day a bit different because you're actually watching time slip by. We can never get the minutes back. The minutes become memories very, very fast. And I can almost guarantee at the end of everybody's life, if they said, what else would you like? It would be one more minute, one more day, one more conversation, one more memory. So we have that opportunity to build this right here. So what kind of memories are you creating? Don't just sit at the table with people. And that's people in your life. Like what I love about when I do my business, I do my business. And when I'm with my family, I'm with my family. Don't just sit at the table and to be there and look down at your phone, talk to people, ask questions, get to know them, get to know your team, get to know people you do business with, get to know people you want to do business with, make a difference and be fully present because that shows up. All of these things, people just think a goal sometimes is I'm writing a number down, boof, I'm slapping it on the wall, but it's all of the stuff that goes on in the background. Number 5, speak only positive. I want you to give yourself a challenge. What if anytime you spoke negatively about someone, something, complained about your company, complained about your business, you charge yourself $100? $100. Would you think twice? I'm thinking you would. So decide, major start is like, boop, 100, boop, 100. I'd be like, oh my gosh. Like, and we're all guilty of it. So decide right now that you're done criticizing, you're done judging. And it kind of says, people are like, she talking to me? Yeah, I'm talking to me too. Because every single one of us do it. You are done saying things that aren't kind about yourself, your business, and others. Even if you think they deserve it. Let's be really real. Every single one of us have done things that others could talk poorly about. But if we want grace in our life, we must give grace. Number 6, stop playing small. And some of you might have had an amazing year. You're meant to be bigger. Well, we're always meant to level up. So what are you waiting for? There isn't going to be an invitation to step into your greatness. You were given that invite at birth. You are here to live your best life and change lives while you're at it. That's what I love about what we do. The longer we stay where we are, the smaller the impact we have the ability to create in this world. The longer we stay where we are, we make this business look hard. So set a goal and jump into it. If you need to practice, practice. If you don't know how to do an opportunity presentation, practice. If you need to become someone totally different to achieve your goal, then evolve. Because change is the only constant. If you want success, speak success over your life. People are succeeding every single day. People are crushing it. People are leveling up. What are you doing? What are you waiting for? Because it's never going to happen organically. And number 7, be willing to change your inner circle. Your inner circle should change from time to time. I am blessed that now these legends that you're going to hear from today, part of my circle, but they weren't 2 years ago. And so the idea is to always level up. If your circle stays the same, it means you're all growing together, or you're not growing together, or you're simply choosing comfort over your best life. Meet new people, level up your level of influence, make new relationships. There is this thing called the law of association. You become most like the ones you associate with. If you're around 5 people with goals, you'll be the 6th. If you're hanging around people that don't prioritize their health, you'll be the 6th. If you hang around 5 people with small money mindset, you'll be the 6th. If you hang out with people that think $100,000 a year is the plateau, the greatest thing, not in today's world. Maybe at some point, but in order for us to achieve our very best, you want to be challenged by people. Hang around with people, have monthly goals of that or more. See what it does for your vision. If you hang around 5 people committed to earning an incentive trip, you'll do more. If you hang out with people who show up like a boss, you'll be the 6th. Who you surround yourself with matters. Surround yourself with leaders setting goals and staying committed. There's a winners club and a whiners club. Okay. And one club makes excuses. The other club creates results. So choose wisely because your year and your future depend on it. If you want different results, it will require becoming different this year. Some people will tell you to keep doing exactly what you're doing and eventually it will work. I won't tell you that. If you want to have your best year, you want to sit down and really think about who you hang out with. Do they inspire you to be more, or do they encourage you to be distracted? You want to be committed because people follow commitment. So my last message is show up like the leader who already achieved their goal. The posture of that leader, the mindset of that leader, the energy, the words, the discipline, the standards. Do more, raise your expectations, because we don't attract what we want in this business. We attract what we're being. And in order to attract more and create more, we must become more. People aren't joining your company, they're joining you. And this year is more than setting a goal. It's to become the leader who can achieve that goal. That's the journey. So fall in love with the journey of self-development and growth. We cannot meet our next level of goals by showing up like the leader that we've been. Goals equal growth, first within us and then in our business. And when I think about this year, for me, it's to become focused and undistracted, not just professionally, but personally, to deepen relationships, to make new ones, to be intentional, to spend more time building and living a life with people that I love, reaching out more, making a difference in the lives of others, being available, saying yes. Like when this opportunity came up, yes. I didn't even know what I was doing today. Yes, yes. I want to lead a yes life. I want to love my life, living in the moment, worry less, loving more, having faith, and affirming my future and being open for what is meant for me. So who are you? What are you creating this year? And who are you becoming? You are the author. Dream really big, because we are part of the best profession in the world. It has the ability to give us time and money. We can help others create the same. It's an absolute blessing. So really, where will you be in 2027? And this is the last thing I'm leaving you with, and then I'm going, okay? Our goal is to become our best. I want you to visualize right now, with this amount of days left in the, I don't even know how, 29, 31, 31. Okay. If you're right now in the final month and you are leading your team to the top of your company, you are finishing up this month, how would you want your ideal team to show up this week? Because 2025 isn't over. What level of urgency, passion, positivity, reaching out, enrolling, going for things, setting goals? And so my message to you is to become that leader right now. It's the only way we attract it in our business. In order to enroll and coach to excellence, we must set a standard for ourselves. It's about becoming. That's how you head into 2026 on fire for your business and goals. I believe in you. I love you all. And I'm so happy and grateful that you're here. Happy almost 2026.
Brilliant stuff, Debbie. Thank you so much. I have put the chat on very briefly for like 20 seconds, so you can put some love in, loving comments in for Debbie. I know that I saw so many private comments coming in and so many hearts and all those other things, but incredible start there from Debbie. So thank you so much for that. Some amazing one-liners. You can either be with the winners or the whiners. I think that landed with a lot of people. I love the thing that Debbie talks about the longer you take to progress, the harder you make your business look. Sometimes we think promotions are for us. They're not. They're for our team. They're for our team to see us getting promoted so that they realize they're in a good team, they're getting great support, and they can do it as well. So brilliant stuff there from Debbie. Thank you so much for everything. And lots of great comments. I'm going to turn those comments off now. But thank you for sharing them. Now we are going to go over to our next speaker, who is just an incredible guy who's been part of the Mastermind family for many years. He came over to the last two Masterminds from his home in Las Vegas. He's known, of course, as the man behind the Beach Money book that sold over 1 million copies, and every single dime or penny or dollar of profits from that has gone to charities to help out people in more in need in different parts of the world. He is an incredible leader, and so we are now going to hear from the amazing Mr. Jordan Adler.
Hey, thanks, Wes. It's great to see you. Art, great to see you. And Debbie, I loved your talk today, so thank you for that. Happy New Year, everybody. First, I'd like to just start off by, it's great to be here with all of you. This is phenomenal. I want to say that I have to generate confidence. So my default is insecure. Like I live in a place since I was probably 6 or 7 years old of being insecure. And that's kind of like how I'm wired. I have to generate my confidence. I have to generate my motivation. My default, like most people, is lazy. And I have to generate action because my default is complacency. I'd rather watch a movie than do the work. I'd rather do that. I have to generate positivity. And my default, like Deb, you were talking about whining and complaining. This is hard for people to believe, but my default is whining and complaining. That's my default. That's where I go if I don't have anything else going on in my life. I have to generate growth because my default is low expectations. Debbie says you have to have high expectations. Yes, you do. But most people, they don't have high expectations and they think there's something wrong because you have to have high expectations. I have to generate that. I have to generate persistency. My default is to quit. And Art knows this better than anyone, and Wes as well. I quit 11 companies before I decided, the word decide coming up again. I quit 11 companies before I decided that quitting was not a way to succeed in this business. My default is to quit. Your default might be to quit. I don't know. I would say 99% of people, their default is to quit when things aren't going their way versus learn. So most people are like me. And this is probably why it took me so long, 10 years, 11 companies, to find any success at all. Never made a penny, never got a check. The negative self-talk I have found, you ready for this? It never goes away. It never goes away. For most people, 99% plus, they still have it, but they have to make a decision that they're not going to let that negative self-talk keep them from having their dreams. So you have to constantly, every day, override the negative self-talk and be aware of it. It's so important. So I will tell you this, though. I am wired as a dreamer. I don't have to generate dreaming. I don't have to generate dreaming because I'm a dreamer. And I have found that with everything in this business, not just this business, but any business, starts with a decision. Deb brought that up at the beginning of her talk. And then you have to have intention. And intention is to be aware, be really aware of what you're saying to yourself. Listen to what you're saying to yourself. And don't make yourself wrong because everybody does that. Everybody. But be willing as an intention to generate action, to generate positivity, to generate growth, to generate persistency. So I want to give you 4 steps to having any dream because we're all, entering into 2026 with a hopefully a list of dreams, maybe not yet, maybe after today. But number 1, you want to define what your dream is. And this is how you can have any dream. And I've probably manifested over 100 plus 150, 200 dreams using these 4 steps, keenly aware of them. Number 1, define it, write it down. It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be as simple as remodel the living room so that we can comfortably watch our favorite movies as a family. I mean, that could be your dream. Define it, number 1. Number 2, calendar it. And I'm going to tell you a little story here in a minute. Put it on the calendar. I'm going to go back to that one in a minute. Number 3, you need to trust the process. Deb alluded to this as well. When I was learning to fly hang gliders, it was scary. Like I'm running off mountains with Dacron and Kevlar with the piece of equipment that I'm strapped into, and I'm running off a mountain. It just it kind of messes with your head to think about that, right? And so I had to trust the process. I had to know that I had the training. I had people around me that had done it, and they had successfully done it and landed safely without dying. And I just had to trust the process, trust my intuition, trust my skills, trust my belief and faith, all of that. So trust the process. Number 4, this is the most important one. See the job through. Most people, again, quit before they get to the good stuff. And you want number 4 is to see the job through. Don't quit until it's done. So those are 4 things. So I'm going to talk about for a minute, number 2, calendar it. I was at an event in LA, and I had never made a penny in any business. I was at the time probably making, I'm guessing $24,000 a year at my job. And I'm at this event in LA. It was a communications seminar, and there were about 1,000 people in the crowd, and I was just a guy sitting in the crowd. And at the time, I literally was living on macaroni and cheese and tuna fish. I could buy 3 boxes of macaroni and cheese for $1, so it was 33 cents a box. And when I had the money, I would buy a can of tuna fish and mix it in, and that would sustain me through the week. 3 boxes of 1 can of tuna fish and 3 boxes of macaroni and cheese, and that would sustain me through the week. I could never go out to lunch. I could never buy anything. Like it was horrible. And I was at that time probably in my 30s, and my rent was $200 per month. And I heard this guy on the stage say, if your dreams are not happening for you, if you've got dreams and they're not happening, consider that they're not even real unless they're on your calendar. I never thought of that before. Your dreams aren't even real unless they're on your calendar. Well, I didn't have the money to go to the Virgin Islands, but I've been telling people for 10 years, I'm going to the Virgin Islands. I'm taking a trip to the islands. I've been telling people that for 10 years, and I never did it. It was never on the calendar. So that day, while I was sitting in the crowd, I opened my calendar, and I think it was October 24th. I wrote it on my calendar, and I blocked out the days. And when you put it on your calendar, everything changes. Now you start thinking about, who am I going to go with? Where am I going to stay? How much is it going to cost? Who's going to help me put the details together? All those things. And I talked to a travel agent, and it was far enough along down the road. I ended up making the money and was able to go to the Virgin Islands for the first time. And I was there with Art and Donna and Thomas and a bunch of other people. We had Art and Anne, and we just had a great time. And that was Art. This part of it, in some way it was related, right? Because that wasn't my first trip. It might have been my first trip. Do you remember, Art? Was it my first trip? I don't know. But I was in the British. I've been in the British Virgin Islands 10 or 12 times now since then. And then I learned that. And so now I know if I want something, like if I want to learn to fly helicopters, or if I want to be sitting in the front row at some major event or seminar or concert, I got to put it on the calendar. I do that now. And then miracles happen between the time you write it and the time that it actually comes to fruition. So this is something you decide. Now, I want to talk for a minute about the difference between a goal and a dream. And this is an important differentiation, I think. Goals typically don't inspire. Like they're not typically inspiring. There's something to do on the way to your dream. So I'll give you an example. Your dream is to be able to sit on the couch with your family, like I brought up earlier, and watch a movie. All right, and eat popcorn. That's your dream. Eat popcorn on the couch in front of a great movie with your family. That's your dream. But the goal is to get the popcorn out of the cabinet and put it into the microwave. That's one of the goals, to make that happen. The goal is not inspiring, but the dream is inspiring. Now, you may not be into that, but whatever it is. So I see dreams as something that it kicks up the dopamine hit. Like if it kicks up the dopamine hit, that's a dream. If it doesn't, it's a goal. Like if you say, I want to make $5,000 a month, or I want to make $10,000 a month, or I want to make $20,000 a month, that can be a goal, but it's not a dream. The dream is, what are you going to do with that money that's going to make your life better and more exciting and more fun and more fulfilling and all those things. All right. So a goal doesn't wake you up in the morning. There's no dopamine hit. The dream is inspiring. So be aware of that. I start with my dreams first, and then write the goals that are going to take you there. And I want to talk for a minute about residual income. So residual, obviously, everyone here knows that it's getting paid over and over and over again for doing the work one time. I had a leader in my organization, great guy, passed away from ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, but he was a builder. He built a very large organization, and he had dreams that he wrote a book called Hanging Out for a Living. His name's Mark Herdering. What Mark did, and this is powerful, because most of the dreams that we have, not all of them, but many of the dreams that we have, we can't fulfill on those dreams until we have the time and the money. And so if you can focus to some extent on those things. So what he did is he decided as a goal that his first goal was to pay off his phone bill every month with his residual check. His second goal was to pay his rent check and with his residual check. And the third goal was to pay his car payment and his insurance with his residual check. And his fifth goal was to pay his grocery bill with his residual check. And he just did that over time until his residual covered his bills. And then he had freedom and he was able to write his book. And so that's just a way of laying out, like, if you know that your freedom, time freedom, is part of the equation, an important part of the equation, that's just one way to look at it. Now, what I want to do for my remaining time, Art, can you give me, by a show of fingers, how many minutes I have? Oh, 10 minutes. Okay, great. 2, 10, 3, 5. Okay, I'll just keep going for a few more. So one of the things that I found to be useful, and it's something that anyone can do like today, which I recommend you do, is to sit down with a notepad. Could be your iPad, but I prefer writing it. I think it has more, it's more tactile if you write it. It's probably will have a bigger impact on your subconscious if you write it. Pull out a notepad and a pen and just start writing down dreams. And I'm going to give you a whole bunch of examples. And while you're writing it, while you're hearing me give these examples, write down some of your own. And if you like some of the ones that I throw out there, write them down as well. So here's what I do every year. Every year, I can remember the first year I did this. Every year I write down 3 things. I start off by writing down 20 or 30 things. And then what I'll do is I'll circle the 3 that I want to manifest for the next year, for 2026, right? My first year I remember doing this, and this was something that somebody taught me, and it's powerful because it's just like putting it on your calendar. When you write it down and you put it in front of you and you see it every day, even when it's invisible to you, there are things happening. There are forces working in your favor if you write them down and put them in front of you. Even if you don't feel it, even if you don't even have to believe it, you just have to see it every day. And I have so many stories around this, but 3 things. After writing down 25, I'd circle 3, and those would be the things that I would really be focusing on over the next year. So I'm going to give you a whole bunch, and you can just write down the ones I give you, or if you have one that pops up that's yours, write that one down. So here you go. Register your kids in private school. Go back to school yourself. Make some repairs on your home, things that maybe have been bugging you. Buy front row seats to a concert or a play that you've always wanted to see. By the way, it's better in the front. It's better in the front. And a lot of times it's more pricey, but that's okay. It's better. Number whatever. Hire a housekeeper. Hire a bookkeeper because you don't like to do it. Hire a landscaper because you don't like to do it. Donate $500 to your church or to your family in need, or $1,000 or $20,000. Drive up the California coast and stay in seaside lodges along the way. By the way, going back to the hire a housekeeper, hire a bookkeeper, hire a landscaper, we begin to lie to ourselves. If we don't have the money to hire somebody, we don't have the money in our bank account, we begin to lie to ourselves and convince ourselves that we actually like it. We like doing landscaping. It gets us exercise, but we really hate it. But we lie to ourselves instead of expanding your dream. So if you really don't like that stuff, put that down as one of your dreams, is to have the freedom to have somebody else that loves to do it, that makes money do that work for you. Okay. Let's see. Take a hot air balloon ride. Take a weekend getaway in the woods. Take a trip to Las Vegas. Rent a condo on the beach. Buy a beach house. Open a college fund for your kids. Upgrade the sound system in your car to one that just whatever you call it. Yeah, thanks, Art. Buy a swing set for the kids, attend a 4-day Tony Robbins event, buy a second car, put a down payment on a house, buy a new bedroom set, buy some appliances, take a 3-day vacation at the beach, learn to fly, learn to speak French. I could go on and on and on. There's an unlimited resource for dreams. We could brainstorm and come up with 2,000 dreams this afternoon if we wanted to. But generate that list for yourself and then circle 3 of them and let that take you into the new year. And with that, I just want to say thanks for this opportunity to meet with you for a few minutes. Happy New Year. Wish you the best in the new year. And may, in the words of Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite, may all your dreams come true.
Thank you, Jordan. Always brilliant to have you with us. I've opened the chat again, so if anyone wants to put some love in for Jordan, please do. We'll keep the chat open for just a moment so that you can share your thanks to Jordan. Always great to have Jordan as part of the Mastermind family. Some real dynamite stuff there from someone that has absolutely built a life for himself where he really is living the dream. Okay, so somebody else now we're going to hear from who I think it's actually like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning for him where he is right now, but he is still up and ready to share over 5 decades worth of incredible experience from this profession. He's written over 50 books. I'm pretty sure it's true to say that there is nobody in the world who has trained or mentored more 6 or 7 figure income earners than our next speaker. And it's just an absolute pleasure always to have and hear him train. So let us hear now from the legend himself, Tom Big Al Schreiter.
Hey, thank you, Wes. And goals are really nothing more than wishes, hopes, and dreams for most people because they set goals and then nothing happens. But goals do have sort of a magical benefit, even if they're only a wish or hope or dream. And the first benefit is it gives us a direction. So it doesn't matter how hard we work, if we're running in the opposite direction, that wouldn't be good. So goals will give us a direction of where we should point. The second thing goals do is they make us aware of resources that we would normally ignore. Here's an example. Our minds have a little section called reticular activator, which means if you're thinking about buying a red car, all of a sudden your mind says, oh, look, there's a red car there. Okay. We notice things. So I want you to imagine that you go to the mall and you order ice cream. And when you order ice cream, you eat it and you find out, apparently I'm lactose intolerant and I got to find the toilets very quick. And you realize that you don't know where they are. Now, you walk past lots of toilets in the mall, but you didn't notice them because you didn't think you'd have a need for them, or you didn't have a goal to find them. Now, that would be different if you knew you're lactose intolerant, because when you went to the mall, you notice where all the toilets are located because you say, hey, if I'm going to have ice cream, I may want to be knowledgeable about the locations of the hotels. So just set a goal will at least make you aware of resources and opportunities you probably wouldn't notice that they were always there, but now you see them. And you say, okay, so I got this goal, and you say it's a hope, wish, or dream, and the answer is, yeah, unless we do something about it. We need an activity to make it happen. You say, okay, so what kind of activity could I have? Well, that depends on your personality. If you're super outgoing, hardcore sales background, you say my activity is going to make 3 phone calls every hour to strangers. And somebody else might say, whoa, all I want to do is have an activity within my comfort zone. And that could be just having more conversations with people. So I'll come up with a good icebreaker. I could say to people, hey, I'm thinking about changing or doing some changes this year in my life. Oh, what about you? And that just starts the conversation. You say, I could do that 3 times a day. And if I have that many conversations, I'm going to find people that are probably desperate for what I have. Okay, so you have an activity. Now, if you have an activity, will it happen automatically? Not unless you make it a habit. So the next idea is when we find an activity that we enjoy, because if we don't enjoy it, we'll quit. You say, all right, so how am I going to make this a habit? Think about habits. When you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth. You don't have to think about it or make a new decision. Dental hygiene or not. It's become a habit. You just do it automatically. It happens. And you say, oh, okay. We all have habits. Here's a habit everybody has. Most people here have a habit of putting on clothes before you go outside for the day. I mean, how many times have you forgotten? No, it just happens automatically. You don't really think about it anymore. So we're going to have an activity that we enjoy, and then we're going to make it a habit, an enjoyable habit. You say, okay, so I kind of have that. So how big should my goal be? How far to advance? Well, I think for many people, they have this big 5-year plan. No, they don't. They barely plan for tomorrow. If you ask them their schedule tomorrow, say, I don't know, let's see what comes up. And this is kind of natural in humans because, a couple thousand years ago, we didn't live that long, so we didn't have to do a whole lot of planning. So if you make a smaller goal, maybe it'll be more easy for you to focus on it. So, all right, so that sounds really good, but what kind of goal can I have? I have all these ideas, but none of them really get me excited, and I want to have some excitement. So instead of thinking, all right, I just can't think of what I want, try this. You can say, what don't I want? Sort of a negative anti-goal. So make a list of what you don't want. Now, how hard is that? Oh, that's not hard. People can come up with a giant list of what they don't like. And they say, we got 3 more days this year. I could add, so many more things before the end of the year to find out all the things I don't want. And say, this next year, my goal is going to be just to avoid these things, or just pick one that I want to avoid, and that'll be my goal. So if you have 3 more days here of thinking of all the stuff you don't like, you certainly could find one that has sort of an emotional trigger that you're going to say, wow, this gets me excited. Because the secret of action, it comes from motivation, and motivation comes from an emotion, not from logic. So you say, okay, I think I got this right. So what's my motivational reason? What am I looking for? So let's say I want to avoid this year of my negative friends telling me, you can never do it. I just feel embarrassed all the time. Now that's my goal, is to, get some success so they can stop saying that. Or maybe you're on your list, you say, what I really hate about this business is prospecting. I don't like prospecting. I don't like artificially approaching strangers. And so instead, this year, I'm going to just join new groups of people that have activities that I enjoy anyway. And that way I can avoid that negative feeling next year. Or you say, well, what else could I do? Say, well, maybe my goal is just to get rid of Monday mornings. I hate Monday mornings. I hate the traffic. I hate commuting. Okay, so your goal is to earn 10% of your weekly income so you can take Monday mornings off. So 10% of your weekly income, that's a reasonable idea or goal there, because you're motivated because you want to show up at 12:30 or 1 o'clock every Monday. Or if you're really aggressive, you can say, maybe I can replace 20% of my income and take the whole day off. What else would I hate? You say, well, just like weight loss. People say, well, it's all good for health and all that. But usually weight loss has more power if we say, what I don't want is to be looking fat in my daughter's wedding pictures, because when they take the wedding pictures and I'm fat, I'll be up on their mantle. Everybody's going to look at my fat picture for the rest of their lives. So that's probably not going to be good. So what we want to do is pick an emotional goal, something that gets us excited. And if it's a negative, that's great, because we'll do more to avoid a problem than we will to gain something. So let's review. Picking a goal is nothing more than just telling us what direction we want to go. It doesn't do anything else. And maybe it makes us more aware of a few resources. But we're going to have to find an activity within our comfort zone so we continue to do it. Make that a habit. And if we can, make the whole thing emotional, because emotion drives action. And with that, let me turn it back over to Wes and Art.
Thank you very much, Tom. Always great to see you and hear from you, and good to see you looking so well. We can't wait to see you in Sofia next year for the Mastermind in 2026. I'm going to open the chat again, so if you want to put a comment in for Tom, please feel free. Tom, of course, as many of you will know, has been part of the Mastermind family for nearly 3 decades now. The event actually is going to be in its 30th year this in 2026. It was started by with support from Tom, who's been a speaker literally every year since then, and people like Randy Gage, who will be back as a speaker at Mastermind in 2026. Now, for those of you that were at the event in 2025, and for those of you that weren't, I'm going to share with you just a few of the highlights, just 90 seconds of highlights to remind us of what we had just 3 months ago.
All the way to the back. Amazing. You need to choose commitment over motivation. Commitment to play big. Commitment to stop taking shortcuts.
Meaningful things take time, and your future is being shaped by what you do today, and it demands a willingness to be uncomfortable and to endure the discomfort now temporarily for the sake of something better in the future. Yeah.
Some great memories there from Mastermind in 2025, and very, very much looking forward to Mastermind in 2026, the first weekend of October 2026. There are around 100 tickets probably left. Many of your leaders may have them, or you can find them on the Mastermind website. That's all I'm going to say about the event right now. Several people who have been on here perhaps found it through one of their leaders, have actually messaged saying, what is this about? Who's it linked to? Is it to do with the company? It's not at all. It's completely generic, but just wanted to share that so you had a little bit more of an understanding if you didn't know about it already. Now, before I hand over to our Jonak, the founder of the Mastermind event and one of the most incredible leaders over the last 3.5 decades in our profession, I'm going to share some thoughts from my own perspective of building in one company for the last 28 and a bit years and reaching the top level of my company. Building a team now that will turn over somewhere in the region of $400 million in sales in this year. I want to share some things from my perspective. I was just, I was a university dropout. Effectively, I was looking to become a school teacher. Dropped out of university, got involved with network marketing or direct selling, and completely changed the course of my life. But tonight, this personal development that's here for you free of charge, it may actually be the most important 120 minutes of not just 2025 for you, but 2026 and beyond. Not because it's January that's coming up, not because it's goal setting or goal achieving, but because it's one of those moments where all of us can either decide who we're going to be, or we can quietly drift into another year that looks similar to the last one. I don't like, personally, when people talk about New Year's resolutions. I much prefer the concept of New Year's decisions, that we don't make resolutions, we make decisions. We are deciding what's going to be different in the new year. So I want to share 5 key messages with you in the next few minutes and see how they can land with you. Now, the first one is around what I'd call earned optimism. Earned optimism. Now, one of the mantras that I really love And I think it's so important for all of us, whether we're aged 18 or 48 or 68 or 88, is that our best years are ahead. Our best years are ahead, and that's not because I hope they're ahead, or I hope I hope we have our best years. It's because I'm willing to behave differently. So let me be clear: this isn't like toxic optimism; it's earned optimism, but it assumes effort, patience, repetition, and most importantly, probably commitment when it's not exciting. Time doesn't improve our life, but standards and habits do. A new year won't change your results, but different behaviors will. So my second point here is when your year is actually going to be won. If you're going to consider 2026 to be a win, when is it won? Now, it's not won in the enthusiasm of being here on December the 28th or doing your New Year's decisions on January the 1st. It's not won in that enthusiastic time. It's won in February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. It's won in different pockets of discipline throughout the year. January's easy, motivation's high, routine feels exciting, progress feels fast. But for example, April is when the reality shows up. Maybe it's not even as late as that for many of us. Now, one of the things I always try and do is not just look at my goals, consider my decisions for the year ahead at the start of the year, but then put in your diary, and this is a piece of advice for you for the goals that you're going to set. Put in your calendar or your diary 1st of April, 1st of July, 1st of October, or somewhere around there, so that you can actually have formal check-ins with yourself. Now, these are the moments where you can either commit or recommit, or sometimes, sadly, if people don't do this, what they're effectively doing is kind of quietly negotiating their standards down, negotiating down their success for the year. Now, people who win their year, they win it in these moments. They're not surprised by their success. They've earned it in January, then again in April, then again in July, then again in October. But also then having mini check-ins with yourself in February, in March, in May, in June, in August, in September, and then in November and December. So have a think about that when you're preparing your goals for the year ahead. Number 3, motivation versus commitment. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. I think I know the answer, but who is feeling motivated right now? We've heard some great talks from Debbie, from Big Al, from Jordan. We're going to hear from Art shortly. Just share some emojis if you're motivated. Of course you're motivated right now. We're all motivated right now. But the truth is, however great that motivation is, it's emotional. Whereas commitment is what really matters. Commitment is kind of structural. Motivation is kind of mood dependent. Commitment honors the decisions regardless. And momentum comes from showing up even when motivation disappears. And that's when your confidence grows. That's when your identity shifts. So please don't spend this year ahead seeking to be motivated, but think more about commitment to the goals and the decisions that you've made for yourself and your family for the year ahead. Number 4, pain versus pleasure. This is actually where a lot of, I think, goals will die quietly, because every day we're either choosing short-term pleasure or long-term progress. And it rarely feels dramatic. It's never a great big sweeping decision. It doesn't feel dramatic. It's just in small little sound bites. It's things like, I'll start tomorrow. I deserve a break today. Oh, just this once won't matter. But the question that I always try and ask myself that really cuts through it is, which pain am I choosing? Am I choosing the pain of discipline now or the pain of regret later? Now, avoiding discomfort today doesn't actually remove the pain. It just postpones it. It just postpones it for the future. So if our best years are going to be ahead of us, we need to get comfortable choosing short-term pain for long-term pleasure. Now, I've a couple of times in my life lost quite a lot of weight. In 2020, I lost 3 stone, which is about 20 kilos. And one of the questions I had to ask myself time and time and time again, every time I reached for some crisps or some nuts or some chips or some pizza, is asking myself, is the pain of not having this pizza right now better or worse than the pleasure of me achieving my goal of losing the 20 kilos I'm looking to lose? Is the pain of not having it right now better or worse than the pleasure of achieving my goal in the future? And if you can apply that to lots of your other goals and decisions, that should help you through the year. Now, something else that I think is important for you to decide for yourself is whether you're someone who needs to declare loudly what you're going to achieve, or whether you have patience to wait and let people see. Now, what I mean by that is we see a lot around on social media, especially around this time of the year, the start of the next year, start of the new year, where people are saying, I'm going to do this. It's going to be a new me. It's going to be a new, you just watch, right? And that's fine if you're that type of person, if you need that accountability. But if you're not that type of person, don't feel like you need to do it. If that's not you don't need to copy other people's operating systems. If you don't thrive on shouting about your plans, then you don't have to be shouty. If quiet execution works for you, then honor it. I was with my partner earlier. We were actually reflecting through some goals from the past few years. We keep goals lists, we keep the books or the journals that we do them in. And we found that in 2021, we first set a goal, a formal goal. I think we'd all had it in our mind before, but we formally wrote down a goal of having a child. Now, for those of you that know me, you'll know that that wasn't necessarily on the cards. That's not the easiest thing to do with my lifestyle. But it was in 2021. Now, what we didn't do, because we're not that type of people, it doesn't matter if you are, but we didn't tell everyone, we're going to have a baby. We waited until we were 2 months away from having a baby. Same as when I released the podcast. I didn't tell people I'm going to do a podcast. Same as when I did a book. I didn't tell people I'm going to do a book. Same as when I reached the top level of my business. I didn't say, I'm going to hit it by this day, because I don't operate that way. Other people do. And I'm not saying either of those things are right or wrong. I'm just saying, do what's right for you. Work out what's right for you so that you can then perform the best that you possibly can. And, you know, this Christmas was a real reminder. Christmas, obviously, for us here in the UK, was an incredible reminder that those goals really are possible, because it was our first Christmas with our little boy. There's little Bobby there. I can't do a goal session without putting him on here, considering he was one of the big goals, but we just didn't choose to declare it loudly until it happened. Do what's right for you. Now, something else that I think is important within this pain versus pleasure message is doing an attention audit. If your best years ahead are going to be ahead, then your attention needs to reflect that. So one of the things I would urge you to do when this session is finished is take your phone out, go to the section, I only know how to operate an iPhone, but go to the section that says screen time, and it will show you broken down what you've done in the last day, the last week, the last month for screen time, whether it's for Facebook or YouTube, social media. What time are you spending on those things each day? And one bit of advice for you might be that over the next 30 days, with no judgment, with no guilt, but each night, at the end of the night, check that screen time and write down in your diary or in your calendar or in your journal what your screen time was for that day. Because if you can become deliberate about your screen time and you can start to track it and hopefully bring it down so that you're spending less time watching other people's lives and more time creating your own life, that awareness is what will precede the change that you are looking for. You can't out-goal a distracted life. If we're distracted permanently by notifications and news stories about things that we have absolutely zero control over, then it's going to prevent us, in many cases, achieving what we're looking to achieve. Now, my last point before we go over to art is We've heard from amazing presenters already this evening about the concept of writing down goals. I know Art's going to give us some frameworks for that as well. But one thing I always try and do when I do my goals is then to start writing down, what habits do I need to change? What things do I need to change in order to achieve that goal? Because for that goal to become a reality and me to focus on it, I'm going to need to take my attention off something else. And in many cases, it might be things like Netflix or Facebook or meaningless scrolling on Instagram. I'm as guilty as anyone, by the way. That's why it's probably such a big point for me. But having a look at, what do I need to sacrifice to create the time I need to achieve this? What habit do I need to change? What can I swap out in my life to make space for this? What do I need to do more consistently, even when it's boring? And that's the real test of achieving goals. What you do consistently, even when it's boring. So just have a think about that when you do start putting your goals down for 2026. What habits do you need to change for each of those goals to become a reality? At some point, I stopped obsessing over the actual outcomes and instead committed to the inputs that I could control. And that's when progress can really accelerate. Goals are not what changes lives, it's habits that do. So, just going to leave you with these closing thoughts. You know, our best year ever and our best years ahead, they're not ahead of us by accident. They are ahead of us by choice. That choice isn't made just in January. It's made daily in the small and boring and repeatable behaviors. And our best years can be ahead because we are willing to behave like the person that we want to become. Now, I hope that's giving you some additional food for thought to help you. I'm not going to be so self-absorbed to put the comments on because it'd be really embarrassing if nobody puts any comments. But instead, I'm not going to waste any time at all. Then hand it over to our final speaker, who has been just an incredible mentor to so many people in our profession. He started this Mastermind event 30 years ago with the sole goal of helping all of us grow, of helping all of us succeed, so that we can all become the people that we choose to be. So it's a real honor for me to introduce someone that I don't just call a great friend, but a great mentor, not just to me, but to all of us. So over to Art Jonak.
Well, hi, Wes. How are you?
Doing good. Good to see you.
It's good to see you. I'm here in not West Texas, actually the hill country of Texas. I had to wear this shirt. Not that I had to. I was happy to wear this shirt from my kids because every year they give me a dad shirt. And this one says the Dadalorian. And I know it's a success because every day that I've worn it so far, I've had at least 5 or 6 people say, that's an amazing shirt. I wish I had one. I need to get one. So hopefully many of you have had some fun holiday gifts. We want to be what's called future focused. So we've learned some incredible information here. I think Debbie, focusing and being undistracted, leveling up your level of influence. I mean, how important is that? The focus part ties in with Wes's audit of attention. The attention audit was just critical. I think Jordan, one of the things that I just love about what he shared was that I have to generate confidence, but I don't have to generate dreaming. And every one of us has these natural skills. And maybe you're the person that doesn't have to generate confidence, but has to generate dreaming. Absolutely super solid insight. Tom Schreider, Big Al, I don't like prospecting, but I don't like being poor even more. Like, what is the thing you don't like? What is the thing that you want to push back against? So much good content, information, a lot of commonalities. You're going to see a common thread throughout a lot of the content that was shared. I'm here. I've got this room here, the suite next door, the kids. I'm going to talk a little bit about why do we get away from the house, change our environment, set our goals as a family. I think that's really important as well. But if you're going to write something down, and I hope you're stretching because we're going down to the final stretch here, but this last part here is going to be very much a master class. So this requires note-taking. But I've created slides as well to make the note taking easier. So all you're going to have to really be good at is taking pictures of the screen, right? So you can do screenshots as I share the notes. But here's the thing I want you to write down. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, Orion, and during this conversation this year, one of the things that we touched upon was, because we're in the business of people and we sit down and mentor so many people and coach so many people, and we have mentors in our life, one of the things we notice is if you're sitting with somebody, and I want you to ask yourself this as well, the last time somebody sat with you, or the last time you sat with some of the leaders on your team, out of a 20-minute or 30-minute conversation, and in some cases they're 2-hour conversations, how much of that time in that conversation was spent on talking about the past? And how much time in that conversation was spent on focusing on the future? And I can tell you that percentage is very much a telling. It's a tell. Like if you play, I don't gamble, but if you play poker, for example, there's a tell, right? You can see that the person, you're seeing an insight into their psyche, into their thinking. And if most of the conversation is spent about the past, the odds of them having a great future is going to be minimized. Whereas if most of the conversation was spent about the future, here's what happens. They are what's called future focused. So write that down, future focused, future focused. Those of you that were in Sophia, you heard me talk about, and the faculty talk about being future focused. I've got a friend of mine named Jerry. Jerry's been an amazing friend in Texas, Houston. And at one point in time last year, we were flying from Phoenix to Houston. We were doing an event in Phoenix, and we happened to catch the same flight. And on that 2.5-hour flight or 2-hour flight, it went by so fast because we were having conversations. And I can tell you, a year and a half prior, most of the conversations with Jerry were about his past. And on this flight, most of the conversation with Jerry was about the future. And I knew at that point in time, the corner had been turned for him, and he was going to have an incredible year, which he has. He's had an amazing year in so many areas of his life. So future focused. So I'm going to do some masterclass topics here, and I'm going to start sharing. And before I share, actually, I do want to share something that's pretty funny. My children gave me this book here that you might look at this and say, he looks kind of familiar. And it's an AI-generated cover of me. And it says, The Galactic Dance Chronicles, the best science fiction book of 2025. And it says, The Tales of Jedi Art Jonak. And in here is an actual book, pages and pages and pages of adventures and stories in the future that were generated and written by AI, but my children had to put in my goals. They had to put in my habits. They had to put in their goals, their dreams, their habits, their characteristics, their fears. And then the AI, based on all those inputs, started to generate chapter after chapter of adventures. And I'm telling you, reading these chapters out loud with the kids here while we're doing this fun trip has been just amazing. So change is coming. And at the end of this masterclass, I'm going to share with you one breakthrough that I've had that's become very clear to me, especially in the last 60, 90 days, that I think with a lot of change that's happening, I'm going to share with you one trait that if you can develop this trait in 2026, you're going to do great despite of whatever AI and all this stuff is coming. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started with our master class. I'm going to go here to the share mode, and we're going to get started with, look at that. I'm way ahead on the list here. I'm going to scroll back and get to the beginning. All right, here we go. So time management is part of our goal accomplishments. 2026 is around the corner, depending on what calendar you're promoting and you live by. And typically what happens, many of us think about, all right, what do I need to do? And part of that is time management. And then another name for time management is priority management. Show me your calendar and I'll show you your priorities, right? So a famous thing that Elon Musk wrote when he was buying X, he said to the CEO, what did you get done this week? And it was a big brouhaha because he couldn't really answer it very well. So one of the things you can write down is at the end of every week, just personally ask yourself, what did I actually get done this week? And do it as a self-audit and as a habit, and start to recognize that maybe when you're off track, we need to make an adjustment. And if I can look at your schedule, and I recommend putting almost everything you can in your calendar. We have these amazing phones, right? In there is our calendar. You can put in all your priorities. And if I were to take, somebody on this Zoom and we did a live workshop, I would say, hey, pull up your calendar and let's take a look at it. And let's figure out how much time was spent on prospecting, on follow-up, on customer development, on team development, leader development, personal development. And I very quickly could see your priorities. I remember there's a point in time in my life where I wasn't writing it down, so I was in denial about what I was actually accomplishing. And the moment I started writing it down, I had to face reality. The same was with my health. I need to eat a certain amount of protein every day, about 180 grams of protein a day. And I thought, yeah, I'm probably doing that. But the moment I started writing it down daily, and after 2 or 3 weeks, I started to realize I am nowhere near 180 grams of protein a day. I had to wake up, realize this, and then start to adjust that because it's a written goal. And I see a lot of people are smiling here because we're realizing, yes, protein is super important, especially as you get a little bit older. And so we have to write it down. At the same time, time management, all of a sudden I realized boils down to also the things I have to say no to. So there are moments in time where I just have to say no to this or to that project or this request or that email. And it may sound rude at the time. I'll explain why to them, but I'll say no. I've got a good friend of mine, Owen, here. He's probably watching, and Owen's been amazing in helping run the Mastermind event, getting everything undone, communicating with people. He's been an incredible asset to the Mastermind event. And he's been on me about writing a book. And it's just, he's almost written most of it in a way. Owen is amazing. And I've been having to say no to him because at the moment in time, I've got other things that are a priority, but it's not no forever, but I had to say no in the moment. But I appreciate his efforts so immensely. So here's the next part. Screenshot this. What if the only true test of intelligence is if you get what you want out of life? Now, this is a pretty difficult one. When I first thought about this, and it was presented to me by a guy named Naval, it really hit me hard because most of us watching here, right, we all think we're pretty smart. And I think probably you are. Probably you are highly intelligent. But how intelligent are we if every day or every week or at the end of the year, we're like, oh my gosh, these are the things that I've wanted and I didn't get them. I wanted to be skinny and I didn't get there. I wanted to have a bigger team and I didn't get there. I wanted to have a bigger, residual check as Jordan was talking about, so they could pay for my these bills and I didn't get it. Well, maybe that's a reflection of our intelligence. If we're not getting what we want out of life, how smart are we? Now, I didn't show up here to be nice to you, and I love being nice to you, but I also know that this is our one chance, right? We're here to chat together. I'm going to share with you my best practices, what's worked for me. It doesn't mean it's what works for everybody. It's what's worked for me. You put it on like a jacket, try it on this year. If it doesn't fit, try another jacket, no problem. But up until this point in my time in my life, I'm just going to share with you what's worked for me. And one of those questions was, how smart am I? Now, I don't, not to get into politics, but there is one president that was president last year. There's the president of the United States this year. There's going to be another president next year. There's going to be a president say that person is an idiot, or they're going to say that person is brilliant. Here's what I know. If that person decided they wanted to be the president of the United States and they actually achieved it, then in my book, regardless of who's president, they're pretty intelligent because they got what they wanted out of life. So I know I spent a lot of time on that, but here's the next part. What's missing if we aren't getting what we want out of life? So if you're not getting the things you want, because this, as much as this is a goal setting masterclass, this is much more of a goal achieving masterclass, because goal achievement is the fun. That's the point. It's where we're going. So here's what I believe might be missing. And again, these are my personal beliefs. Number one, if I wasn't getting what I wanted, then maybe I needed better thinking, right? And part of this Zoom call here, and we got people from all over the world, and I mean, just so incredible amount of people showed up, is to say, hey, maybe I'm going to pick up one idea or two ideas, or maybe an idea from Jordan, from Debbie, from Tom, from Wes, maybe one idea from Art, and I'm going to improve my thinking just a little bit. That's why you're here. You're probably thinking, hey, I'm not here to be entertained. Yeah, entertainment's great, but the entertainment isn't the point. The point is maybe we can shift our thinking from thinking like this to slightly thinking like that. So that's one is better thinking. And I'm going to share with you some of the best practices that I've changed in my thinking side. And then number two, action. Acting on what we believe is the current best path, the correct path based on our current thinking. So we have to review our thinking. Okay, 2025 is ending. Let's review how intelligent were we on what we achieved or didn't achieve. Yes, that hits right between the eyes. That's pretty personal. Number one, should I improve my thinking in a specific area, health, family, wealth, whatever that may be? And then number two, maybe I already have my thinking right and I just didn't take action on that thinking. So screenshot that. That's what it boiled down for me. So if we're doing both, we're thinking in the right way and we're adjusting our thinking. And by the way, here's my mantra. I have strong beliefs, loosely held. My beliefs are very strong. If Wes is going to be here and try to change my mind, he's going to get pushback from me and we're going to steel man the argument from both sides. But it's loosely held enough that I will allow Wes's arguments and facts and new data to change my mind. Strong beliefs, loosely held. And if you're finding yourself in a point in life where you're just not changing your mind a lot about things, you might want to think about that, right? So thinking and acting and still not getting all the results that we want out of life, then maybe we should ask ourselves, where are we not making smart enough decisions to adjust our thinking, right? Where is that part missing? And part of intelligence is not just getting what you want out of life, but knowing what you want. And I think, Jordan started to touch on that quite a bit. Getting what we want is one thing, but what if we end up getting the wrong thing, right? What if we end up getting the wrong thing? Then that would be quite sad that you put in 2, 3, 4, 5 years and we didn't take enough time to think about what is it that we actually want. And so then we end up achieving the wrong thing. And this is a path that I have been down as personally as well. I've focused on achievement, on getting what I want, and then I realized I didn't think deeply enough about what I wanted, and I got to the wrong place, and I had to start over. So here's some thoughts. How to get the most from 2025. Well, wait a minute, Art. What do you mean 2025? I'm here to get the best year ever in 2026. Yes, I understand. But what I found is in order to get the best out of 2026, I need to get the most out of 2025. And so I'm going to give you some specific action steps. And before I go to them, I want to just emphasize this. What I'm going to share with you next, don't try to do this in 1 hour. Don't try to do it in 3 hours or 5 hours. Don't even try to do it in one day. Spread it out over a few days to make it the most effective. Because your brain can only do so much output in a day. Your brain can only maybe push itself on the dreaming side so much in a day. If possible, what I'm about to share with you, do some of it in a place that's not your workspace, that's not your regular place, right? Find a place that you can drive to or be to, like here I am in the hill country with the family. We've moved ourselves out of our regular environment so that we could do some of this work. I think every presenter probably touched on this, turn off the devices, right? When you're going to do what I'm about to share with you, turn the devices off unless you're very specifically using the device to review photos or to review your goals and so forth, or create a memory generator from your year, and that's different. Eat well, write it out by pen and paper. I'm a big believer in writing out. I think things stick out a little bit more. So what does that look like? Number one is your highlight list, right? What are the things that you did in 2025 that stick out? Now is the time to look at them, to relive them, things that you highlight, the things that you can celebrate that are exciting, positive moments in your life. And if you're married, I recommend you do this together. And if you have children, maybe do part of this together as well, right? Relive those moments. Look through your photos in your phone. Look through the events in your calendar that happened. Look through the entries in your journal, social media posts, maybe your to-do list that you've accomplished, your product management list that you maybe have in place. What are some of the major milestones? What are some of the major moments that you've had in 2025? What are the accomplishments that you're most proud of in 2025? Sometimes at the end of the year, we tend to beat ourselves up, but let's also take a moment to say, yes, I accomplished this, or I accomplished that, or I moved myself closer to this on this goal. What are the people, events, habits, or tasks that you look back upon really in a positive way, fondly, that energize you the most or made you feel like glorious or more, just expansive in 2025? Um, how can you do more of that in 2026? How can you do less of the opposite in 2026, right? What are the books that you've read? What are the podcasts that you've listened to? I went through my podcast list because I like Spotify, and I looked at the podcasts that I'd listened to in 2025. It was over 100 podcasts that I listened to. And the knowledge that I gained was incredible. I looked at the number of books that I've read. I looked at the number of books that I started and didn't finish. By the way, if there's a book that you start reading and it's not interesting after 4 or 5 or 6 chapters, don't feel obligated to finish it. Put it away. Get the next one that excites you, right? That's something I've learned over the years. It's not a tome. You don't have to finish the book. You can just find the ones you enjoy. And so look at what we're grateful for in 2025, right? Start making that list. And then maybe if you've already done it, look through your goals for 2025 and ask yourself, how many did I accomplish? Right? How many did I accomplish? And if you have a list, here's my insight, like a little subtle part of this is not a binary list, meaning it's not a 0 or 1, yes or a no. In many cases, a goal can be I accomplished 10% of it, or 15% of it, 20% of it, or 30% of it. If your goal was to lift an X amount of weight at the end of the year in a bench press and you didn't get there, but you got 80% of the way there, celebrate that. Put 80% next to that. Don't put 0, right? Whatever that is, your rank advancement and your pay plan was this rank. You were here at the beginning of 2025 and you got to here. Don't make that a failure. Say, I got to 70% of my intended goal. 70% is fantastic, right? So when you're reviewing your goals, don't make it binary. Don't make it 0, I didn't accomplish it, or yes, I did. Put a percentage by it. And if you didn't make a list for 2025, guess what? You're going to get to do that this year. But ask yourself, could I make a what if list? What if I had made a list? And if you had made a list, I want you to write that down and say, what would have been on my list? Okay. And step number 2 is we need to learn and grow from this list, right? So we're reviewing it. And then on that list, you can say, hey, what didn't go my way? What can you learn from this list that didn't make the same? So I don't make the same mistakes, I guess is the best way to think about that over again. Figure out what you need to do to fix the ones that you missed, so that we don't make the same mistake twice. Make a mistake, no big deal. Make the same mistake twice, we have to question our intelligence, right? And if there was anywhere on that list that was kind of catastrophic, or just really threw you back, driving out with a motorcycle without a helmet and you had an accident and you really hurt yourself, you know, put those down. There's a mentor of mine indirectly, a guy named Charlie Munger, who passed away, but incredible mentor. And he said, don't make big, stupid mistakes. If you can avoid big, stupid mistakes in life, life is going to be pretty good, right? So that's our learn and grow list. So you're going to want to write down on this list the things you want to learn and grow from 2025. Okay. And again, this is why I say this doesn't take 15 minutes. This may take you a few hours to do. And then step number 3 is your hit and miss list. So, how many goals did I not finish? Why did I not finish them? And then what are some of the things you don't want to put up with in 2025? Right? What are the things that you no longer want to put up with? And many of you know Randy Gage. He's been a great friend, mentor to me throughout my life. And one of the things he taught me was something called a burning bowl ceremony, And what he taught me was to take a list and sit down with your spouse. I would sit down with Ann, I would sit down with my kids, and write down the things that we no longer want to put up with in 2026 that we did put up with in 2025, right? And then you write those things down and then you put them in a bowl, and ceremoniously you just burn those pieces of paper. at the end of the year, and you watch it start to burn. And there's just this amazing catharsis that happens when you do that. Sometimes we put it in a little bowl and send it off in the middle of the pool, and it burns in the middle of the pool, right? But it's an amazing thing that you can let go of some things. Just let it go. That's behind me now, is what my daughter would say. My daughter, Fia, she says, that's behind me now. I don't need to spend time on that anymore. Okay. And so then we can turn to how do we get the most from 2026? And here's what I would suggest. Number one, and this is the part that takes maybe a lot of time. And I think it's a well worth amount of time that you put into this. Sometimes people say, I want to make my to-do list and have it be, something that I can do quick. Maybe you want to create a I want list. I want this. So if I'm doing a group setting, if I were sitting with you and your team, one of the things I would do is, hey, take a piece of paper. At the top, I want you to write the words I want. Then I want you to start writing the numbers 1 through 50 on this page. 50, Art? Yes, 50. And they're going to be shocked. And what we put on there, we say, okay, everybody start writing. I want this and I want that. And you'll notice that what happens is this massive pushback because we are programmed to not want. It's greedy. It's not prosperous. It's taking stuff from other people. The world isn't zero sum. Just because you get a car doesn't mean somebody else can't get a car, right? But people get uncomfortable with this. So write down what I want. I want a dishwasher that isn't so noisy at night that it keeps me up. I want, to be able to pay part of my bills with a passive check from my network marketing business. I want. And what happens is if you do this in a group setting, people will start to share some of their I wants, which will generate ideas for them. And then what happens is after the first 25, 30, 40, 50, we get to the second 50. And the second 50 is where the real emotional I wants are. We've heard the presenters today talk about emotion is what moves us forward, not necessarily the goal, because you've run out of the ones that you can get that are maybe, things. But on the next part of the list, you're going to get to the part that really moves you. So ask yourself, what do I want? And on this Golem Storm list, there is no bad idea. I want you to just get rid of this idea of, oh, what would society think if I wrote that down? Or what would my neighbor think if I wrote this down? Or forget all that. Just write it down because you never know what's the thing that's going to motivate you to do more, to become more. There's this expression, there's a chip on the shoulder where you want to prove something to somebody. And what I learned over time is I have chips on my shoulder and I embrace them. So people go, oh my gosh, Art, that's not very nice. Forget nice. If there's a chip on my shoulder and that chip motivates me, I'm going to embrace that chip on my shoulder and I'm going to put it down, right? So write down everything and just keep writing. It's an unfiltered list of things that you'd like to accomplish. This can be hard to do. It definitely takes time. It's going to take hours, sometimes days. Don't worry about it. And don't worry about if you're going to accomplish them or not. Just write them down. Get them out of your head onto a piece of paper. You're taking a shower and all of a sudden it hits you. Write it on the shower in the foggy part on the wind mirror and then quickly write it down and add to it. Okay. Now, step number 2 is categorize these. What I mean by that is put them into categories. Maybe the categories are your fitness, and maybe another category is your finances, and maybe another category is your fun, right? You got to have fun. Look at this. I've got this wristband on my wrist right here. It's green. Why do I have this funny looking piece of paper on my wrist? Because yesterday I spent the almost entire day going around a lazy river and down slides with my daughter Fia and my daughter Dulcie because we wanted to just have as much fun as we could. It was on their list and I was happy to participate because it took my mind off of things and I was just able to go do that. So what are the fun categories? What about your following, right? Category, maybe family, freedom. Category for freedom, maybe a category for travel, right? Which one of those fall into the travel category? Last night I was talking with my daughter Fia and Dulcie, and the topic around the dinner conversation was, hey, where would you like to go travel? And it was pretty amazing to see my youngest daughter, her wish list of where she'd like to go travel has changed so much from last year. Well, my middle daughter, Dulcie, she still had some on there that one of them I think we're going to have a lot of fun with in the spring. Giving, where do they fall into the buckets of giving? Where do they fall into the buckets of your personal development, your education? And your goal storm will create goals for 2025, but it'll also create goals for 2026. It'll create goals for 2030. Not all of these goals are meant to be accomplished in 1 year. Some of these need an accumulating advantage. They need momentum, they need speed, they need time to get there. Just write them all down, because successful people do this process for years. If you look at Elon Musk, and forget if you like him or hate him, but we can't deny that he's an incredible goal achiever, right? And did he create a self-driving car the first time he tried? No, it took years, and now he's finally there. Did he create a rocket that lands itself? No, it took years, but he's finally there. Did he create a bunch of tunnels under Las Vegas where now all of a sudden it's cheaper to go from the airport to Las Vegas and take an Uber and he's just going to dominate that space? No, it took years. So some of your goals are not meant for just 2025. And then what you want to do is you want to take these goals and then just trim off the fat. And what I mean by that is trim your goals that don't make sense for 2025, put those on a separate list, and then let's just look at the 2025 or 2026 goals. My apologies, 2026 goals. And then on your 2026 goals, let's break them down into the must-have goals. Right? We've heard some of the presenters today talk about pick the one, pick the three, pick the top. Yep. Find the ones, narrow it down to the 3, 5, or 8 goals that you really want to get done, right? Let's narrow it down to, let's say, 5 or 3, the must-have goals, because if you get these 3 or 5 right, there's a high likelihood that there's another 20, 30 things on your list that are going to get taken care of. If you hit this rank in your pay plan by the end of 2026 inside the company, odds are that there's going to be a bunch of things that's going to help you accomplish, because now you created this cash flow, right? Whatever that looks like, let's put that down as your must-have goals. And then I'm going to push back a little bit against what Wes said here, but I completely understand his viewpoint, which is sometimes we don't share our goals because we're private people. And I think that's absolutely accurate. Here's what I've also found is that when you share your goals, there's a certain magic that happens to the sharing. You're putting it out into the universe, and now all of a sudden, other people can help contribute to that, because they're going to say, oh, wow, Art, you have that goal, or Jim, you have that goal. I know this person who knows that person that could help you accomplish that goal. Right? So all of a sudden you've got this network effect that can kick in. So I totally get what Wes was saying on the privacy side. There's certain ones that you're going to keep private, and you're going to just say, hey, I'm not going to talk about the goals. I'm going to just announce them when they're done, and I'm going to show the world. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And then there are some goals that it makes sense to say, hey, how can I create a 1 + 1 = 4 synergy? Oh, my child is having this health problem. Now, am I going to try to accomplish that goal and help my child with that health problem, or should I put it out into the universe and say, hey, I've got this challenge, anybody know of a specialist or a doctor that might be able to help her with this? And boom, 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 dots start to connect that you can't see in the forward, but you can see in reverse, and the goal starts to accomplish. So sharing some of your goals has a certain power to it. And then step number 5, we're in the business of networking, right? Just direct selling here, is repeat this process with other people. Certainly, I'm going to spend it, repeating it with my family here. But your goal probably is to help other people on your team achieve their goal. And if your goal is to help them achieve their goal, maybe share this process with them and then see what parts they're open to doing with you. Because if I know the goals of somebody within the organization, they want to reach a diamond rank or ambassador rank or whatever that is, that helps me line up what I'd like to do with them, the environment that I'd like to create from them, the obstacles that I could help remove for them so that they can get there faster, right? So repeat the process by sharing it with other people. So I hope that framework helps. And then as we start to go towards an end here, I want to give you some very practical tips. And the first one that I just absolutely love once I implemented it in my life was something called keep, stop, or replace. So I look at everything that I do in the various areas of my life, And we heard a lot about habits, right? Every presenter was talking about the different habits. We had Debbie talk about habits, and Jordan and Big Al and Wes. So if you're looking at the habits, for example, or things that you don't even realize are habits, but you happen to be doing them every day or every week, ask yourself, in these areas of my life, I have three simple options. Number one, do I want to keep this habit? Hey, you're working out every day, wonderful. You're doing 5,000 steps a day, wonderful, right? Or maybe before you go to bed, you eat a bag of Doritos and you don't even realize it. Like, oh my gosh, do I want to keep that habit? So number one, do I want to keep this habit in my life? I'm reading 20 pages of a good book. Maybe it's this amazing bestseller. Do I want to do that? Continue to do that. And I found that reading before bed and turning off the blue screen has been amazing, right? So I want to keep that habit. Number two, is it a habit that I want to stop in my life, right? Is it something that I've been doing that looking back hasn't served me, right? So what are some of the habits you're going to say, I'm just going to stop this. I'm no longer putting up with people who are rude in my life. I'm no longer, whatever that habit is. And then just create a hard stop on that to make your life better. And then here's even more powerful, is the ones that you might want to stop, ask yourself, what could I replace this habit with? Right? Is there a new habit that I could replace it with that could be even more empowering to me based on the new knowledge that I've been learning? So if you're reading books, listening to podcasts, going to your company conferences, and you pick up somebody on the stage saying, here's what I do every day, every week, every month, whatever they are. Hey, I'd like to replace it with that habit because it's a little bit better. It's going to improve the trajectory of my life a little bit more so that I can be future focused and know that the future of my life is going to be much more focused on the things that I want to accomplish. So I lost my screen here for some reason. All right. And then going on, keep, store, replace, stop. Here's the screenshot. Just take a screenshot of this. And then you can revisit this as you're reviewing your goals for the year. Hopefully everybody's got that. This part I'm not going to spend much time on. I think we've addressed it pretty strongly. Goals let you plan your progress. Systems and habits allow you to make that progress. So focus in on those habits and systems as much as you can. And then here's part of what I've also learned as a best practice is I focus in on what are the 20% of things on my list, the top set of things on my list, that if I accomplished that, it would make 80% of other things happen, right? So if part of your goal is to be physically healthy for the future, so that when, as Debbie said, she can turn 85 and 90 and 95, and she's going to be joining us here and participating, for that to happen on her health, she's probably going to have to say, I need to take my health seriously. So I'm going to add lifting weights 3 times a week, because as we get a little bit older, and I'm talking about me, not Debbie, Debbie looks incredible, but I'm now 55. And I know maintaining muscle becomes a little bit harder in life. So I need to lift weights at least 3, 4 times a week, and I need to eat a certain amount of protein. And if I do those things and I lift those weights and I stay strong, I'm less likely to break my hip, right? It's going to be more likely that other things happen. If I'm do the working out every day and weightlifting 3, 4 times a week, I'm going to have this natural energy. So other things can happen because now I have this increased energy. So it helps me accomplish 80% of other things. What are those things for your business? What are the 20% of things that if you accomplished and focused in on that, 80% of the things on your list would happen? And just hone in on those. And so I want to just give you my framework. This is a framework that I've learned from one of my mentors named Jeff. He wrote the book called The Slight Edge. He taught this to me many, many years ago. I've been trying to figure out, was there a simpler way to do this? And I haven't. So I continue to use this version of it. I'm going, not using it exactly as he said, but it's the iteration of it. And that is, in order to achieve my goals, number one, they've got to be written. Now, that's an absolute. Maybe they don't for you. But again, as we heard from Debbie and Jordan and Big Al and Wes, writing them down, there's a certain power to it. So take some time to put them in writing. Number two, specific, right? The more vague they are, the less likely they are to be accomplished. So if there's a rank in your team, in your organization, in your company called diamond, say, I want to be a diamond, right? I want to be whatever that specific thing is. I want to weigh this much. I want to be able to lift this much weight. And then number three, add a time element to it. If I want to be a diamond by the end of the year, the time element is so important because most things get done in the last 20% of the time that you allocated them to get done. Think about it. Like I'm traveling right now. How much did I get done in the last day before traveling? More than I did the day before, because there's a time element that happens. The time elements are why we have campaigns in their direct selling business. There's why there's these moments in time where the entire organization is striving to achieve these campaigns, because that time element makes us get it done. Where if we didn't have that time element, we let it linger. So when possible on those goals that make sense, put a time element on there and then have a reason to hit it within that time element, or maybe even give yourself a punishment if you don't hit it in that time element. And then, of course, have a plan. This is why we do what I learned from Orrin Woodward called PDCA, plan, do, check, and adjust. Constantly revisit the plan. You've written it, you've planned it, you've acted on it, you've checked it, you're on target or you're off target, you need to now adjust it. Because remember, your first plan will most likely be your worst plan. Your first plan isn't about perfection. Don't worry if it's good or if it's bad. Just get one plan down and then constantly update the plan, right? You iterate on it. I can tell you that if Elon Musk tried to have a self-driving car, that first plan he had is not the plan that got him there, right? You'll learn things along the way to upgrade yourself, to upgrade your plan, but do have a written plan. Number 5, usually we have to pay a price. You have to give up something. If your bowling average is 100, you'll probably have to think about that, right? Most people that are successful financially don't have a bowling average over 100 unless they're a professional bowler and that's how they make their money. I'm not putting down bowling. If you love bowling, fantastic, but I'm picking on it because it's still one of the top participated sports out there in the US. I like bowling once in a while with my kids, but think about it. Is your bowling average getting in the way of you attending the weekly meeting with your team, right? What are your priorities? And I always thought that the price of neglect was much higher than the price of discipline, right? I learned that from Jim Rohn. As you can see, I've picked up many of my thinkings from different mentors. The price of neglect means that you'll have to fail for the rest of your life in that area. The price of discipline means you have the right vehicle, your company, for example, and you apply yourself for a period of time, then you'll get the rewards that very few people have and very few people dream about, but you've picked a vehicle that allows you to go do that. And that's the price you'll have to pay, picking up that price. And then number 5, after that is look at the goal every single day. Oh, hi guys, can you guys close that door for a sec? Yep, thank you. So number 6, you look at those every day. If you put it in your day timer, you put it on your mirror, you put it somewhere where you constantly can look at it. I've got a friend of mine named Carla, and she literally has those goals in her car, on her mirror at home. She has them on her computer screen. She has them behind her when she's doing Zooms. They're there every day. And you might think, oh, well, that feels cheesy. That feels weird. That doesn't feel normal. I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm saying try, see what happens, right? Because sometimes we get off track. And if we can look at our goals constantly, be reminded of them constantly, be reminded of why we're trying to achieve them, that'll be fantastic. Write them down on a piece of paper, whatever that looks like for you, get them done. So here's the screenshot. Write it down, right? Take a screenshot, keep it handy, and try it out for 2026. See how it works. Okay, everybody's got that? Now, zooming in, I'm going to share with you one more method here. And that is something called the Ivy Lee method. So the Ivy Lee method is something that Elon Musk uses. It's some of the most successful people in the world consistently use it when you're reading biographies, which I love to do. Somewhere in that biography is going to have some version of the Ivy Lee method. And if you look at maybe some of the leaders inside of your company, they probably use some version of this. Maybe they don't realize it's called the Ivy Lee method, but they're using some version of this. And it's so consistently there so often that I have made it part of my life. And it's part of what I teach the organization that we work with. So number 1, in 1918, there was a guy named Charles M. Schwab. He was one of the richest men in the world, different from the Charles Schwab that we know from the bank. But Schwab, he wasn't related to Charles R. Schwab. He was a different one. He was the president of the Bethlehem Steel Corporation at the time. It's one of the largest shipbuilders and maybe the second largest steel producer in the U.S. And even Thomas Edison once referred to Schwab as kind of the master hustler, right? He always figured out a way to go make things happen. And here's what happened. In 1918, he wanted to increase the efficiency of his organizations because he had these large teams, building and so forth. He said, I need to increase the efficiency. And Ivy Lee was a businessman in his own right, wasn't anywhere near as successful as Schwab, but he was known as the person to help Schwab increase the efficiency of his organizations. And all of you lead organizations, or maybe you're brand new to direct selling and you're just starting, but at some point you will lead an organization. And what he told Schwab was, give me 15 minutes with each of your executives, and I'll help increase their productivity. Now, how many of you would like to have something where in 15 minutes talking to your team leaders, you could increase their productivity? My hand's like way up on that, right? And Schwab asked him, how much will it cost you? And he said, it'll cost you nothing, but unless it works. If it works, after 3 months, you can give me a check for whatever you think it's worth to you. Now, that's a pretty good value proposition. And then here's what he did. During those 15 minutes with each executive, Lee explained the simple method of achieving peak productivity. And at the end of each workday, here's what he said. It's so simple. That's what makes it amazing. Remember, for me, the definition of duplication is simplicity. The definition of duplication is simplicity. So in that sense, I don't know why we keep losing the screen here. Oh, just give me 1 second here. All right. 1 second. All right, I think I'm losing the screen. My apologies.
I feel like we might have just lost Art. So let's just take a moment and see if he comes back to us. But whilst we are waiting, I'm going to reopen the comments. Let me know if you'd like this session available for you to share with your team. If you'd like this session to be available for you to share with your team in the coming days, let us know. Lots of yeses there. Lots of yeses there. Okay. Now, Art, are you back with us?
I'm here. Yep. Somehow there's a writing on the screen, and then every time the writing goes off, I get booted out. So let me see if we can continue here. And here we go. Thank you, Wes, for being my co-host there. So the Ivy Lee method, as we wrap up for today, it's the beauty of it is that it's so stupidly simple that it's partly why it's effective. So if we look inside of our organizations, usually the more complicated something is when we share it within the team, the less it duplicates. So the definition for me, duplication equals simplicity, right? And then Owen, if I can get myself back on the screen instead of Wes, that would be fantastic. So here's what he did. He said, number one, at the end of each workday, write down 6 of the most important things that you need to accomplish tomorrow. And by the way, this worked so well for Ivy Lee and Schwab that Schwab gave Ivy Lee a $25,000 check because it increased productivity so much. And in today's numbers, that's about $500,000. So he became, super, super wealthy at the time. So number one is, what are the 6 most important things you can do? And you write those things down. Now, you might say, well, I'd like to do 5. Fantastic, do 5. I'd like to do 4. It's great, do 4. Don't get caught up on the number, right? 6 was the number that Ivy Lee liked. And then number two, once you've written down the things that you want to accomplish tomorrow, so this is specifically now we're zooming in. We've done zooming out, 30,000 view of how to look at our goals for 2025 and 2026. Now we're zooming in. We write down the 4, 5, 6 things we want to accomplish tomorrow. And now the night before tomorrow even starts, ask yourself, what is the first thing I have to do? Is it talk to 2 new people a day? Is it follow up on this customer? What is the thing that I'm going to accomplish first? And what happens is you wake up the next morning and you're already ready to do that thing, right? You're not having to make the thing and make that list in the morning. So you prioritize it 1 through 6. Here's the number 1 most important thing. Here's the number 2 most important thing. Here's the number 3 most important thing. And the next day, concentrate only on that first task, right? Whatever that first task is, put everything else aside and just hammer, put off the distractions until that first task is complete so that you can start building some momentum for the day. You can say, I accomplished something today. And then if there's time left in the day for task number 2, go and tackle task number 2 until it's done. One of the things that hurts us a lot is if we're switching between tasks, right? If you look at the Elon Musk book, his biography, one of the things he doesn't do is he doesn't context switch. He doesn't switch between task, because it just kills his time. Pick one thing, focus on it until it's done, then go focus on the next thing. And I've seen this again across the board. And then you go to the third thing. And then if at the end of the day you didn't get to item 4, 5, and 6, no problem, because what are you going to do? You're going to then do the same thing. The next day, the next night, you're going to take the unfinished items, you're going to put them on your list. Maybe there's 3 left from the day before. You create your updated list of 5 or 6 things you want to accomplish the next day, prioritize them, and then get after it the next morning. And you repeat this process until many of your things get done. And I've learned that if you commit to nothing, you'll be distracted by everything. I don't know who originally said that, but it stuck with me. And this is the Ivy Lee method, is that it prevents you from that. Here's why it works so well. You start teaching this within your organization, you start doing it yourself. Number one, it's simple enough to actually work, right? Why? Because everybody can get a 3x5 index card to write down those 6 things. Anybody can put it in their phone. Anybody can put it on a piece of paper, right? Or a notepad at a hotel. You don't need a fancy system, to-do action piece of software, any of that. You can just pull out a piece of paper. It doesn't matter what Zoom call you're doing and which country people are calling in from, they can do this. It's simple enough to actually work. That's why it works. Number 2, it forces you to make tough decisions. Hey, I've got a list of things I need to accomplish, but because you're forced to prioritize them, that's what's going to make it work, is you're forced to decide what is the most important thing. Number 3, it removes the friction of starting, meaning that a lot of times the reason we don't start, the reason we procrastinate is because we put off stuff. We wake up in the morning, we start scrolling, whatever that may be. This removes the friction because you wake up in the morning and you know what that first thing is and you got to go get it done. Number 4, it requires you to single task, right? You're not context switching constantly back and forth. And that means we get things done. And it's easily to duplicate in your team because it's the least common denominator, right? It's paper and pen. So what is the most important thing first each day? And this productivity hack works so simple because it allows you to focus on your future, right? Focus forms your future. We want to be future focused. So as we wrap up, and I'm going to go skip through this part, and those of you that were in the leadership session, because I promised you at the end to give you the one thing that really I think will serve you the most in 2026. And it's a little bit of a shift because intuitively, I think many of us, myself including, maybe we've been thinking the wrong way for decades. And I think due to it's kind of like a pervasive culture around this idea of intelligence, that intelligence is the most important thing. There's an obsession around IQ. But what we found and what I believe is agency is actually the most important thing. Not that intelligence doesn't matter, because we talked about how intelligent are you if you're not getting your things, your goals accomplished. But here's what agency is. Agency is a personality trait. It refers to an individual's capacity to take initiative, to say, hey, I'm going to get something done, to make decisions, to exert control over the action in the environment. to bend the universe to your will, right? You hear Steve Jobs talk about that. It's about being proactive rather than reactive. You're going to make things happen rather than reacting to things happening to you. Someone who has high agency doesn't just let life happen, right? They shape life. They're leaning in. It's a blend of self-determination, of self-efficacy, efficacy, meaning you're going to get it done yourself. And it's a sense of ownership that you're in charge of your path, right? You're in charge. And people with strong agency, they tend to set goals and then they pursue those with confidence, even in the face of obstacles. See, agency basically says, even if I have to walk through that brick wall to get what I want, I'm going to find a way to walk through that brick wall. It's about being proactive. It's about basically saying I'll figure it out, and then actually figuring it out. And on the flip side, somebody that has low agency might feel like a passenger in their own life, waiting for external forces, for a little bit of luck, for somebody else to do something for them, for circumstance to dictate what happens to them. And it's not quite the same as assertiveness or ambition, even though those can overlap. It's an agency is a little bit quieter. It's more internal. It's a belief that you can act paired with the follow through. And this high agency is going to become more and more valuable. Right now, AI is going to make poorly defined work much less valuable, right? With AI, we're going to see a premium on a lot of knowledge. Intelligence is going to become cheap and abundant. The thing that's going to be scarce is acting on the ideas, is acting on the intelligence. And that's called agency. And I think what I've seen separate success from non-success, goal achieving from non-goal achieving, is this idea that I am going to accomplish it no matter what. And I see people that may have lower intelligence or appear to have lower intelligence, but because they're just tenaciously obsessed about just moving forward and getting it done, they separate themselves from the rest. And to me, this is the most important trait that you can develop in 2026, is a sense of high agency, of I'm going to accomplish it no matter what. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get the information. I'm going to get the knowledge that's needed. I'm going to act upon it. But most importantly, I'm going to act, because we can have ChatGPT and Grok, and I use Grok every single day, ChatGPT every day. It gives me so much knowledge. The difference, what's going to separate you from other people out there in 2026 as we move into this age of intelligence abundance, is your agency to act on it. So my wish for you is be responsible. Say, no matter what happens in my life, I'm responsible. And if a tree falls into my house and it's the neighbor's tree, I'm still responsible. And what that does is it takes away your victimhood. And it says that I'm responsible. That means I'm in the driver's seat. I decide where my life is going to be. I decide where I'm going. It's your responsibility to you and your family to move in the direction of your dreams. If you're in the passenger seat, there's always going to be a sense of somebody else is in charge. But if you're in the driver's seat and you say, I'm responsible for everything that happens in my life, you are now in the driver's seat. And that's one of the most empowering things that can ever happen to you. And you take that with a sense of high agency. And as Wes was talking about, it's the commitment that we keep, right? Motivation versus commitment. And champions aren't just resolution makers. As we move into the new year of resolution making, champions are commitment keepers, right? And how do we keep our commitments is by having high agency. So for 2026, do you plan to be a commitment keeper? And if so, what are the commitments you plan to keep? Screenshot that, right? And then here's what I know. To everyone who plans to be a champion in 2026, to be a commitment keeper in 2026, I'm proud of you, because I know you can do this. I know that you are future focused, and I know that you can develop the agency, new word of the year, right? High agency, to go get it done. So with that, I wish you a happy new year, Wes. I'm going to turn it back over to you. And we've had an incredible, incredible time here together.
Thank you so much, Art. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. As always, just incredible, incredible insights from Art. I'm going to open the comments up now so people can share their love for Art, of course. Brilliant just incredible stuff there. So please do share the love. Now, many of you said when I just asked you a few moments ago that you would like some replay opportunity for your teams that couldn't make it on this evening. And I'm pleased to say if you keep your eyes on your inbox over the next 24 hours or so, you will see details of how you can share it for a limited time with team members that weren't able to make it on this evening. Of course, it will be free of charge, the same way as what for you, but it will be time limited so that they actually have a goal to watch it and then they actually achieve that goal. Now, just before you go, just want to remind some of you, if you're not aware of the Mastermind podcast, the Dream, Struggle, Victory podcast that you can find on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, in fact, all major podcast platforms. There are quite a number of episodes now with some of your many of your favorite slots from many of the masterminds from years gone by. So do make sure that you use some of your spare time in the car or when you're walking the dog to find the Dream, Struggle, Victory podcast. And do us a favor when you have listened to one, do like a little comment and let the world share that on social media, but also do a comment and like it and rate it, because that really does help us as well. So just before we finish up, it's been amazing this evening for me. I know many of you, it's early morning, mid-afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are in the world, whether you're at home on your own, whether you've got a watch party with a number of you sitting together, or indeed some of you are in theatres or cinemas with hundreds of people sitting together. We really appreciate you being here. It's amazing to see so many of our presenters are on, some of the presenters that weren't presenting this evening, but they're part of the Mastermind faculty. I saw Lisa Prescott. I saw Ian here as well, Andy Dooley, Randy Gage, saw Steve Critchley, Dan Debnam, Claire Hingot, Stefan Longworth, so many of our favourite speakers. I think I saw Miriam de la Sierra as well here. So great to see so many of them as well who are here this evening as students. Special thanks, of course, to Debbie Neal, to Randy Gage for... Let me just reverse back. Randy Gage has confirmed, by the way, a number of people have asked that he will be at the Mastermind event in 2026. And so has Debbie Neal. Debbie Neal has travelled over from the US for the last 2 years to Europe. She's now coming over for the third year in 2026, as well as Randy. Now, special thanks, of course, to Debbie, to Jordan Adler, to Tom Big Al Schreiter, and to Art Jonak. I'm going to leave the comments open and ask you just maybe to leave your one big light bulb moment, your one big takeaway, the one thing that really resonated for you, or any other comments that you want to share this evening. Obviously, no product pitches or anything else like that. We're all a bit too mature for that kind of thing. But anything you want to share this evening about what you learned from the presenters over the course of this session. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great end to 2025, a great start to 2026, and a great continuation of 2026 as you make it your very best year ever. Thanks for joining us this evening, and we'll see you in Sofia for those of you that join us.